What's popular, YouTube? Another day, another demo. Grab a seat, grab some coffee. It's Stewie versus Stewie, part number 2. Part 1, we looked at a strong Nuke performance where Liquid played against EG at ESL 1 Cologne before the grand final, 7 days before this match, and Stewie had a 19 kill half. Fast forward a few days, best of 5 gets played. Liquid lose 2-3 to EG. Stewie has an awful series, and this was when people were calling into his performances into question more than ever. From yesterday, we looked at why Stewie played well and what went right for Stewie as a ramp player on CT side, where he had the 19 kill half. Today, we're going to look at Stewie playing ramp again, same team, same position, same side, same map, but only getting 12 kills and 46 ADR in a map that went to overtime, meaning any rounds they won, even though they did have a good half overall, would have tipped the scales. That's not to bring more negative attention to Stewie and his individual performances. Every single player made mistakes in the game, and all of those mistakes led to rounds being lost for their team. Otherwise, we would have had 50-0 halves both ways, right? This is just to show and talk about what could have been better, what went wrong, and what we can learn from it for Stewie. This one I really wanted to pay attention to, so I watched the demo once over this morning. I won't be able to do that every single time, just in order to keep this a sustainable, a sustainable daily thing, to upload a demo a day. I won't always be able to watch the demo beforehand, but I wanted to because I was really curious about this one, and I wanted to know what effect it would have. So why don't we get into the demo and just go ahead and look at this first half, and then talk about it as it goes on and more afterwards. Stewie in this game with the 6-12 half playing ramp, largely played a lot of the same CS. There was a push into lobby, once every 3-4 rounds. Once in a while, they were playing on the ramp, played on the box sometimes. I think he played Turnpike on the pistol, got boosted in the corner once. In terms of variety of positions and approaches to ramp, it largely looked the same. I won't spoil too many things until we see them, but I just like to note that in terms of positioning, game plan, not much changed. One thing we do see less of in this game is him dropping down lower and playing within the lower site. When I come into these demos, I have to be very aware of my implicit bias when I talk about players. And everybody has to recognize that they're going to see the games through their lens. If you want to like a player, you're going to see it. You're going to see things you like. If you want to look for negatives, you're going to find negatives. Both times you've got rose-colored glasses on. Both times you're going to see inaccuracies with a bias. You're going to be, unfairly looking at one play, overzealously looking at another. And when I watch the demos, and depending on how I frame it with the title, the angle I'm coming into it with, I have to be aware of it every round when I talk about, how these players play. More on that in a second. Stewie double dink by the Glocks, wraps around, and right here gets killed. You might think, well, why does Stewie even push this? Oh, look on the corner. If you look on the corner of the screen here, let me take this off. You got a terrorist wrapping around the left side, okay? So I didn't even notice that the first time, but he doesn't have a good position to be in, and he can't get down the ramp fast enough. The spot he was in was fine. The way he played it was fine, but he did get dinked 3 times really quickly and died. That's not foreshadowing, by the way. There's some stuff here in this demo that I really want to talk about. that I feel like is starting to piece together the puzzle a little bit, in my opinion, about Stewie and his game. So let's contrast this, first of all, with another player, Zentaris. When we watched Zentaris play Inferno, we couldn't stop talking about his pre-aims, you know, and his tracking was great. His first bullet accuracy was great, but his pre-aims were really the most magical part. You know, the fact that he didn't even need to flick or track most of his kills. They just came right for him. On a bad day for any player, things like your first bullet accuracy is not going to be perfect. Your spray is going to be a bit off, but your pre-aim should not be. And I think we see some pre-aims where Stewie seems to be uncomfortable in the positions that he normally plays in. I actually noticed it yesterday on ramp as well, where Stewie swung on lower sight and onto the ramp and like was kind of way off. So there's that with this demo. And then there's also the first bullets in his spray. It seems crazy, but one thing I noticed watching this game, which I think we're gonna see soon, is that Stewie's spray this game was off, but in such a strange way. Like his first 7 to 10 bullets, which most of you know, kind of just goes straight. You just pull straight down. He just wasn't pulling down enough. I think we'll see that maybe next round here. Even when he did get kills, you'll see bullets above his opponent's head. So here we got the boost in the corner. You know, it's a great spot to play. And the only reason people don't play here like every round is because you just get pre-fired. It's the same reason you don't play the same position anywhere every time. You just don't want to get pre-fired. Holding on CT side again, it's all about off angles. So we're about to see actually a pretty bad round from Liquid. I'm going to show why. So I found this weird when I first watched it, where they get the 5 to 3 advantage, and then Stewie leaves his teammate ramp and drops lower. But he leaves his like low HP teammate ramp here, and it's not clear. Here's where I don't know if there's bad comms, but it's not clear that they're going downstairs. Player gets picked off, and they're dedicated. And remember, when you go downstairs, the last thing you want to do is to have to come back upstairs. It's a very uncomfortable rotation. Going up to down is so much easier than going down to up. And we see here, and that's why you've got to be careful about when, of course, you rotate lower or commit. And now we're in a 2-on-3. And so he has to come up with the vent. But it's successfully done it, which is the hardest part. And then we'll see. So the spray was a tiny bit wonky. When we look over to Grim, absolutely unreal how... Grim is actually unreal. Like, somehow might end up being the best mechanical North American CSGO player. Like, we'll see. We'll see in time. But I want to just take note of that with Stewie for these next couple fights that he takes. You can see the sprays aren't great. First bullet accuracy is not great. Bullets going kind of like all over the place. Taking a long time to get the kills. And he gets them because they're not looking at him at first. And of course, he's not totally prepared for the second player, but it's kind of a domino effect, right? Let's say you completely own the first guy in like 3 bullets. then your recoil resets fast, and then you can shoot the next guy and not have to worry about your spray getting messed up. But Stewie took too long on the first guy, and then the second spray was already kind of sabotaged because he was so deep into the spray that his gun was so hot. There's another one. I don't think a dink on that one. Breeze gets the kill. And you could see his crosshair just kind of ride up really quickly. Grim absolutely saving some of these clutch rounds here for Liquid. Here's the wrap. He ran a little bit. I think there was someone in lobby. Yeah, Cirque just waited for that. So he made noise. There was also a couple of times here in this half where Stewie makes noise, and I don't know. Well, sometimes it's a demo. Like, I think if you jump onto a ladder holding walk or something, you can. There'll be like a global noise in the demo, but not necessarily in the game. Some weird situations like that. So, okay. Maybe he doesn't need to run there, and then if you walk, Cirque's not waiting for him. Maybe. Here's what should be a super easy round, I feel like. I think Grim ends up getting this kill. Yeah, we can move on. Hold on, I just want to pause really quick. So one thing I want to say is that Alige actually, it's funny because it's his own teammate, but Alige talked about having an A, B, and C game. You can watch this podcast with DDK and Alige. And he said, basically, you know, some days you're not going to feel your 100%. That's just the way it goes. Every player experiences this. This is just a sports performance thing. Some days you hit your shots, some days you don't hit your shots. But Alige talked about knowing and recognizing when those days are, and then having a different game plan for those days. One thing I noticed when I was watching this demo is it felt like Stewie was, with his keyboard, playing his A game in terms of positioning, making the confident moves, pushing the same way, playing the same spots. But with his mouse, he wasn't playing his A game. He was playing more like a C game. His first bullet accuracy was off. His spray was off. His pre-aims were off. So those things made me wonder, you know, is there a cognitive discrepancy between kind of Stewie's feeling in terms of his confidence and then his ability, where he just can't perform today on a skill level? And should there be some adjustment between the way he plays mechanically and the way he's positioning himself? One example I'd love to give is if, you know, we always think when you look at your fight, if your aim duel took 3 seconds in total, both of you basically whiffed a little bit. If you had taken your time to aim for the head and then spray and shoot, you will get the kill. You might take an extra second, and if you're facing Grim, maybe you don't have that extra second. If you're facing Breeze, maybe you don't have that extra second. And at this level of play, you see that pros will just blow you away for trying to take your time. But you also see a number of duels, and I would argue more, where there is enough time to take half of a second, you know, I'm talking 500 milliseconds, to just make sure you're on the head first, because your initial flick is probably going to be near the head. You just need to make sure it's on the head so you don't waste that spray at all. And the best example of taking your time and a demo that we should look at is Nico. Because Nico will look simple, dead in the eyes, not think about who he's fighting, and make sure that he hits his first bullet on the head every time. And I think that is something that allows, I mean, his consistency is dropping a bit, but in general makes him a top world-class, all-time great rifler in the game. And something that made me wonder about Stewie here, and is there an adjustment between when he was playing well, like we saw yesterday, and today, where it seems like he was just lacking a bit on being able to hit his shots. So their spray goes bad again. And of course, you never want to. You wish you could just instant flick first bullet headshot every single player, but in reality, that's an unrealistic way of playing. And when we think about consistency, it's not that the best riflers in the world can just first bullet every single player in the game. It's a combination of knowing where to be, knowing your nades, and also being relatively good on the reflexes, and also being calm, right? And I think in being calm is the key one here, where if you're calm enough, you know, you can, and confident enough, you can find the time. And you should really only, you know, flick with every fiber of your forearm, every fiber in your shoulder when you absolutely must, and just really like, and when the flick radius is really small, you know, then you can see close to 100% consistency. But when it's big enough, I think there always has to be times where you have to think, okay, maybe I should go a little bit more slow, a little bit more composed. Okay, he was looking for the lurk. Naf had his back. And then here's the crosshair placement is good. The next spray, the bullets go above the head again. And that was like the one time this half that we've seen Stewie's kind of first bullet hit just like dead on. I mean, it was a crosshair placement kill, right? Which is good. This is like, that's the kind of thing that shouldn't change if he likes that fight, for example, or if you can just visualize properly. But if he had just pulled down a bit more, the second player would have peeked into the exact same position. So there's a position where he had to make a decision. Does he let that one go, or does he just try to kill? And that one is circumstantial, of course, because we don't know if he's worried about his teammates outside, if he, you know, heard one stinked or whatever, he thinks he can get the kill. But of course, after the one, that guy gets away, you think, all right, well, the second player who was outside could have got killed if he was a bit more patient. I actually remember watching this live and seeing it from Bree's perspective, I think, on the stream. Bree's looking for Naf. And Naf tried to play it tricky. It wasn't actually bad. And he didn't want to have to go into a retake situation, so he just peeked out again to try to grab the kill. I don't know how I should title these videos. Stewie versus Stewie, good performance. Stewie versus Stewie, bad performance. Or part 1, part 2. I've got another one coming up. I already recorded them. I did a demo on Flames. Then I did Frozen in the same game versus him. And then I did Frozen, a good performance, in another game versus him. It sounds complicated, but it's really cool. Tough. I don't think anything interesting happens here, if I'm not mistaken. Trying to push through at the same time. Terry Carriage is behind the site, and that's a wrap. All right. So, wasn't that interesting? Like, I think I've already kind of concluded with some of the thoughts in the middle of the demo, but that was something I was definitely thinking about a lot. Does Stewie have a good C game, and is that his problem? Because, yeah, like I brought up in the first game, it's so strange for me to think of Stewie as not, you know, mechanically gifted player. Like he's he's not like he's not he's not like one of those low fragging IGLs that barely can hold his mouse. You know what I mean? Like he just went from up here to down here, but when he's slumping, it's even more severe than it should be considering how good he is. And so that makes me wonder if this is a Liege podcast I think everyone should watch. I don't know if this is the right answer. This is my hypothesis. But this demo or this podcast you should watch and listen to Liege talk about A, B, and C demo. I think there's a lot of good in there that's relevant right now. And I thought that was really interesting. Strange to see something like, the first 7 bullets of a spray be the problem in this game, where a lot of those bullets just went up, above the head. This could be a situation where Stewie's just not watching watching enough of his own demos, or, something else. But these are all guesses on my half. This is just what I observed. If you notice something different than me, let me know what you thought. So these are the demos that I've already recorded today and yesterday, and then I'm just gonna I got to keep adding to this list. So if you have more players, let me know. We've got 2 on Shiro, 1 on Flames, an art demo, Frozen versus Frozen, a new school Doja demo, which is interesting, and we did the Zentaris Inferno. Oh, I didn't actually release that. I referenced Zentaris, and I haven't even released a video. Okay. Well, yeah, that's it. That's it for today. Thanks again for the comments. Shout out to Notification Gang, and I'll see you back here for another one. I hope you enjoyed that. Stewie versus Stewie, part 2.